I need to be honest before we begin. I did not want to talk about this case. Not because it is not important, but because some stories are so painful that even saying the child's name feels heavy. Preston was only 13 months old. He could not explain what was happening. He could not ask for help. So now, the timeline, the evidence, and the court record have to speak for him. This is the story of what happened to Preston. On the evening of 27 July 2023, a 13-month-old boy named Preston was brought to Blackpool Victoria Hospital. He was unconscious. He was in cardiac arrest. The first explanation given to doctors and police was simple. Preston had drowned in the bath. At first, that sounded like a terrible accident. A baby left alone for only a few minutes, a moment of panic, a tragedy inside a family home. But then doctors looked closer. Preston was now wet in the way investigators expected. His hair was dry. Medical evidence did not support drowning. And when the Home Office post-mortem was complete, the case changed completely. Investigators found evidence of serious non-accidental injuries. They found evidence that Preston had been harmed before, and they found that his death was caused by acute upper airways obstruction. That meant the story about the bat was not the answer. It was the beginning of a criminal investigation. And the closer police looked, the more disturbing the timeline became. Preston was born on 16 June 2022. According to police, he was placed into emergency foster care 5 days later on 21 June 2022. For the first 9 months of his life, Preston lived with foster carers. Police later said that health professionals described him during that period as healthy and happy. Then in March 2023, an adoption panel approved Preston's placement with Jamie Varley and John McGowan. Varley was a teacher. Court reporting described him as a former head of year at a secondary school in Blackpool. McGowan worked as a financial sales manager. On 31 March 2023, Preston spent his first night in their care. This detail mattered because police later built a timeline around that date. According to investigators, the criminal offenses against Preston happened during the 4-month period after he was placed with the couple and before his death in July. So the question became painfully clear. What happened inside that home during those 4 months? The first major warning sign came quickly. Police said that within weeks of Preston being placed into the defendant's care, Jamie sent messages to a friend saying he found Preston annoying. Police also said he told other friend he was struggling to cope. By 17 April 2023, Varley had taken his first video of Preston. Later, investigators recovered images and videos from phones. Police said some of those files showed Preston with visible injuries, and that some of the material formed part of the charge involving indensed images. On 11 May 2023, there was a strange emergency call. According to police, John McGowan made a 999 call late that evening, but the call was abandoned after only 4 seconds. Before the call ended, Varley could be heard saying, "Put it down." When police called back, a male answered and said the emergency call had been made by mistake. Later that night, McGowan called the non-emergency medical line from Varley parents' house. He reported breathing problem and inability for Preston to hold his head properly. An out-of-hour call was arranged. Police said McGowan did not answer that call and did not seek medical attention for Preston. The next day, according to police, Neither man mentioned those health concerns to the health visitor. That moment became one of the first clear signs that Preston's condition and the adult explanations did not match. The first hospital visit came on 25 May 2023. Jamie Varley took Preston to Blackpool Victoria Hospital. He said Preston had breathing difficulties and had suffered a seizure. Safeguarding staff at the hospital contacted police. Detectives from the child protection team attended, but according to police, medical staff indicated there were no concern around potential non-accidental injury at the time. This was important because police later said it was the only hospital contact they received about Preston until the day he died. Images later recovered from Varley and McGowan phones showed Preston in hospital on 25 and 26 May with bruising to his head. Police said those images indicated Preston had already been the victim of physical cruelty. More images and videos were recovered from June. Some were taken by Varley, some were taken by McGowan. Police said they showed further signs that Preston had been harmed. This created a timeline that was not built around one sudden moment. It was built around repeated signs. And the investigation would later show that the final day was not isolated from everything that came before. On 27 July 2023, Jamie Varley was home alone with Preston. At 4:45 in the afternoon, according to police, Varley recorded a video of Preston laying on a bed, struggling to breathe, and in obvious discomfort. The prosecution later said that earlier that day, Preston had been sexually assaulted by Varley. Police said there was then a second assault that caused obstruction to Preston's airways. Only Varley was present in the house at the time, according to the prosecution case reported by police. But Preston was not taken to hospital immediately. Police said Varley and McGowan arrived at Blackpool Victoria Hospital with Preston at 6:24 in the evening. Preston was unconscious and in cardiac arrest. Doctor tried to save him. He was pronounced dead at 7:20 that evening. Varley then gave the bad explanation. He claimed he had left Preston unsupervised in a bad seat for a few minutes while he got changed and returned to find him submerged. But the medical evidence did not support that version. Preston was dry when he arrived at hospital, and the post-mortem would later show a different cause of death. The Home Office post-mortem became a turning point. It found that Preston had died as a result of acute upper airways obstruction. Court reporting stated this was consistent with either smothering or an object or objects being inserted into his mouth. The post-mortem also found multiple injuries. Police said Preston had suffered 40 traumatic injuries during the period he was in Varley and McGowan care. Those included external bruises, internal injuries, and a healing fracture to his left upper arm near the elbow. Police described that fracture as non-accidental in nature. The court also heard that there was no evidence to support natural disease or drowning as the cause of death. That detail was critical because if Preston had not drowned, then the bad story was not just wrong. According to the prosecution, it was a cover story. The case had moved from a reported accident to a suspected killing, and the investigator now had to answer a harder question. Was this only about the final day, or had Preston been in danger for weeks? Later on the day Preston died, Varley and McGowan were arrested on suspicion of child neglect while police carried out inquiries. In early August 2023, after the post-mortem results, the investigation escalated. Varley was re-arrested on suspicion of murder. McGowan was arrested on suspicion of causing or allowing the death of a child and child neglect. In June 2025, the Crown Prosecution Service authorized charges. Jamie Varley was charged with murder and a series of serious sexual and child cruelty offenses. John McGowan was charged with allowing the death of a child cruelty, and sexual offenses. Both men denied the charges. Their trial took place at Preston Crown Court. During the trial, prosecutors argued that Preston had been routinely ill-treated, sexually abused, and physically assaulted during the 4 months he was in their care. The court heard about recovered video and images, medical evidence, the abandoned emergency call, the hospital visits, and the final bad explanation. Then on 15 June 2026, the jury reached its verdict. Jamie Varley was found guilty of murdering Preston. He was also found guilty of serious assault, child cruelty, sexual offenses, and offenses involving indecent images. John McGowan was found guilty of causing or allowing Preston's death, 2 child cruelty offenses, and 1 sexual assault. According to police, the jury took just over 2 days to unanimously find both defendants guilty on all counts. The confirmed evidence shows a pattern. First, Preston was described as healthy and happy during his first 9 months with foster carers. Then he was placed with Varley and McGowan. Within weeks, messages show Varley saying he was struggling. Phone evidence showed injuries. There was an abandoned emergency call. There were hospital visits. There were images and videos later used as evidence. And on the final day, there was a delay between the video of Preston struggling to breathe and the arrival at hospital. The outcome is now clear in court. Jamie Varley was convicted of murdering Preston. John McGowan was convicted of causing or allowing his death. Both men were also convicted of other offenses connected to the abuse and cruelty Preston suffered. Police described the case as one of the most disturbing they had encountered. The Crown Prosecution Service said Preston was abused by the people who should have protected him. As of 16 June 2026, both men had been remanded in custody and were due to be sentenced at Preston Crown Court on 18 June 2026. But the criminal verdict did not close every part of the story, because Preston's case also raised serious questions about safeguarding. Police said the first hospital visit in May led to safeguarding staff contacting officers, but medical staff indicated there were no concern around non-accidental injury. The court reporting also showed that Preston had been admitted to hospital more than once during the months he was in the defendant's care. Those facts leave a difficult question behind. How many moments were missed before the final day? The case of Preston began with an explanation that sounded like a tragic accident. A bath, a few minutes, but the evidence told a different story. The post-mortem did not support drowning. The recovered phone evidence showed a wider pattern. The timeline showed warning signs before the final day. And the jury accepted the prosecution case that Preston's death was the result of criminal abuse, not an accident. This case is not only about what happened on 27 July 2023. It's about what happened before that day. The abandoned emergency call, the hospital visit, the images, the injuries, the explanations that did not match, and the adults who were supposed to protect Preston but did not. Jamie Varley and John McGowan were convicted in court. But the final question remained larger than the verdict. If the warning signs were there, why was Preston still in that house when the final emergency happened?